Hello everyone, welcome to another harmonic journey. We're going to go into another meditation, but one that has profound implications for us in our daily life. It's called abdominal breathing. Now you've probably heard of it, as I have. I've got about 20 books on breathing, and believe me, they cover abdominal breathing in depth. And it's sometimes called diaphragmatic breathing. But you know what? I've never really understood it. Or let me put it this way. I've never really understood why it works the way it does. And some things about it really disturb me. And so I've never quite got a grasp on it until these last few weeks when I came across a Taoist teacher called Damo Mitchell. And he finally pulled it all together for me in a way that is really in tune with the harmonic self. So we're going to explore that today together. But first, let's get the energy field set here. So we ask for the highest and purest light from the highest and purest source to surround and fill the space we're in, and each one of us, for the highest good. I always like to call forward the Christ presence in what we do. So I ask for the presence of the Lord Jesus Christ to be with us, guiding us, assisting us, blessing us, and protecting us. And I also ask for the mystical traveler consciousness, that guide that is within each one of us, sometimes called the inner master, to come forward from within our hearts to take any negativity, any disturbance, any anxiety or fear or worry, concern, dis-ease, and release it back into the nothingness from which it came for the highest good. And finally, my spiritual teacher, John Roger, who actually passed away about 5 years ago, but who to me is very much present in everything that I do. I ask for his energy and presence, the energy and the presence of John Roger, to infuse everything we're doing here for the highest good. So with the energy field set, we can kind of relax into it and allow ourselves to kind of be lighter as a result. That's why I do that, because it allows you to suddenly feel a lot freer to move and less constrained, and knowing that everything we're doing is for the highest good. So abdominal breathing. So what did I get out of abdominal breathing that I didn't get before? It's simple enough. When we talk about abdominal breathing, we talk about breathing from our bellies. Well, of course, we cannot breathe from our bellies. We can only breathe through our lungs. The air comes in through our nose or mouth, down our windpipe and into our lungs and fills our lungs. But what it's talking about is that some people are called chest breathers. Well, of course, we all breathe from our chest, but they breathe up here. And this can create a lot of anxiety, because that's how we are when we're in flight or fright. When we're under stress, we're breathing up here. So what therapists and breathing experts have all recommended for hundreds of thousands of years is diaphragmatic breathing, where we allow the breath to settle, where we're still inhaling, but the breath is going down into the diaphragm. Of course, it has to, but we're relaxing enough that our belly now can kind of distend, our belly can come out. And so while I'm breathing, my chest is still. One way of doing it is have one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly, and as you breathe in, if this hand starts moving, you know you're breathing from your chest, but you should really feel it just in your belly, just your lower belly, just by your belly button or just below there. Just have that feeling of the belly expanding, essentially like a balloon. Now, the problem with this that I've had is that it feels unnatural. Now, the recommended approach is that if you're under stress, or if you want to relax, or you've had a bit of a shock, or if you even want to be present, just breathe in and out through your belly. And that works, but it always seemed to be unnatural because it seemed to be forcing things, and I never could really come to terms with that until Damo Mitchell came along, and he, with his Taoist approach, said, you're to force nothing. that abdominal breathing is not an action, it's not a doing, it's an allowing. We're actually not doing the abdominal breathing. The abdominal breathing emerges when all other parts of us are in a state of relaxation and ease. And ease has become one of my favorite words these days. Just being at ease. Because I think most of us, if we were asked, well, what do we want out of life? We'd say, well, we all want to be happy. And I don't disagree. I want to be happy too. But happiness by itself doesn't seem to mean much. It kind of comes and goes. But if we're at ease, it's much easier for happiness to kind of emerge, or even better, joy to come out of us. So, not something we do, it's something we allow. And we're going to just go into a little bit of depth about this, because Demo Mitchell gave me 5 clues about this. Basically, actually, there's 5 levels of this, and they're designated by words. So we'll have one word for each level as we go deeper into this. But it's important that we're upright. We don't want to be laying down. This is not of course you can do this laying down, but this is really not an approach to be laying down, because when you're laying down, then the front part of your body will breathe, but the back will be restricted. And we want our back to open, because a lot of our lung tissue, in fact, most of it is in our back. So a lot of people don't breathe into their back. The one way to breathe into your back is actually to lay down on your stomach, and then you'll feel your back rise. Or you have someone do that. You can put your hand on their back and you'll feel their back rise more. But generally people are just out here and they're not opening their diaphragm all the way around. So that's a reason to kind of be upright, so we can get that diaphragm to come around and open up around us. Rather than if we're slumped, then we're constricting so much air. It's so bad. It's not only bad for us neurologically, but it's also not good for us in terms of our lung capacity and our breathing and our openness and our health and all of those. So we want to be upright, as we really are in this harmonic self, as much as you can. I mean, some people have spinal problems, but do the best that you can. And so as upright as you can, we want to have our head upright, and then allow the breath, us to receive the breath. And this is where the first quality comes in of abdominal breathing, and that is quiet. The word is quiet. Now, from a Taoist point of view, the breath and the mind are one. The breath and the mind are one. So where the breath goes, the mind goes, which most of us have the breath and the mind completely separate. But once we begin to relax, we'll find that actually they're very much on the same plane. So as we breathe in, as we inhale, we don't force it, we just allow the body to breathe. This is the key. Everything we're doing is extremely simple. What's complicated is us. We'll want to interfere. And this is something that you'll find, or I've found with people that I've worked with on this, that their mind will keep getting in the way. It's very difficult just to allow ourselves to receive the breath. But if we're going to do this, it's a great practice. That's why it's a wonderful awareness practice at any time of the day. You don't have to sit cross-legged or get into any special posture at all. It's good to be upright. But at any time in the day, quiet is the first quality that we want, meaning we're not doing anything at all. Quiet. And perhaps you can just feel that as we go into that quietude, things begin to settle. In a piece on the spiral wave, I'm going to be talking about the tea leaves settling. We want things to settle down. And when we settle down, our mind goes from its busy, I want to do this, do that, with to-do lists and friends and conversations and all that, and begins to settle down. my good friend Dr. Mark Holmes, who's an Oriental medical doctor, has said that one of the key factors of good health in Chinese medicine is a quiet mind. So quiet is such an important quality for our health, and also is the first stage of our abdominal breathing. So here, once you begin to receive and your mind starts to go a little quiet, I think we can feel that a little bit now. If your mind just wanders off again, just come back to your breath, and perhaps you need to stay at this first stage for a while. There's no rush. We're not going anywhere. We're here. We don't have to do anything to be spiritual. We are already spiritual. But we're just doing some practices here that can assist our attunement, come into harmony and balance. That's what the harmonic self is about. It's about this ease, about this wu wei, non-action, W-U-W-E-I, wu wei, non-action, non-forcing, non-doing. And by that, we don't have to do our breath. We just receive our breath, we just allow our breath, and then as we do that, that quality of quiet emerges. Let's just spend a minute just allowing the quiet to come in. That's wonderful. If you found your mind going too far, then just go back to your breath and just practice that. That's in itself a very important spiritual practice. Now, after we've quietened, the second word comes in, deep. D-E-E-P, deep. We're quietening, and now we begin to settle, and we go deep into the body and going down into our lower belly. In Chinese terms, that's the dantian. D-A-N-T-I-E-N. Dantian, sometimes pronounced with a T, but a dantian. We're pronouncing the Tao with a D, D-A-O, but it could be the Tao, but it's more the Tao. It's not a religion. I mean, it is a religion if people take it that way, but it's just like the Christ. The Christ is not a religion, it's a state of being within us. And the Tao is a philosophy, a way of life that is very, very helpful to us once we get into that kind of mindset or philosophical approach, helps us relax and settle. There's much more to it than that, as people have taken the Tao and taken it into various practices. But we're going to take the real, simple, practical approach that we can use in our daily lives. I'm not going to go out there at all. This is very practical. And so we go deep. We let the breath start to sink down into our lower belly. Now, of course, if it were that easy, there'd be nothing to this. But it doesn't go right into our lower belly, because we have a lot of tension stuck in our body. So what we have to do is we become the observer of our breath and see where it goes. For some of you, it may get stuck in the throat. And it's just like, what's it doing there? That's fine. There's not a competition. We're not racing to get to the bottom. What we're doing is just going, okay, so the breath needs to stay here for a little bit while we go quiet. And be with it and observe and just feel that unwinding. Our observation process will just allow that to unwind as we stay with it. As we don't interfere with our mind, but allow our mind in a sense to soak in there along with the breath. And then perhaps it goes down a little bit and gets stuck. Maybe you feel a little tension in this upper chest area. Again, there's nothing to do here. And maybe your session ends with just feeling it up here. which is fine. You've got the awareness, and you will get great benefit from just doing that. So let's just spend a minute or two going deep. And just observe where the breath goes in your body. So perhaps for some of you it went to your shoulders or to your back. I know that I was suddenly aware of some tension in my back that I didn't know I had. Nothing severe, but just like my breath was just wanting to stay there for a little while I was quietening. Now, as you get good at this, and some days the breath will go down into the lower belly. And when it gets down there, the third level emerges, and that is ease. E-A-S-E, ease. Now, why it's called ease is that the breath then stays there. Kind of awareness is in our lower belly, and we're breathing, and we're at ease. Now, if suddenly I go, oh, I've got a to-do list, boom, I'm out of ease, and suddenly I'm back in my mind, and I'm out there. Or I may feel some emotions, and then I'm up here, back up here again, feeling more emotional quality, more of a mental quality. When I'm down here in my belly, I'm at ease. And again, the mind and the breath are one. Once my breath goes down there, my mind is down there, and then I'm very much present and here. So that as I go through my life, I can stay here and be very present and aware. As soon as I jump, I react, boom, the energy goes up, the breath goes up, leaves that place. So I want to come back down there as a quiet, meditative practice. Now again, we're not doing spiritual exercises. That's another practice where we actually do bring our attention up here, but for a different purpose. We actually take the energy out of the body to go up here into the center of the head or on the crown. But as I've often said in many of the classes I facilitated, we have to get out, we have to get into the body before we can get out of the body. Otherwise, we're just halfway there most of the time. And certainly for living life, particularly in these times where there's so much anxiety and stress around us, that this is a very important practice, because you can then be at ease. You can be observing. Something may come along that may be disturbing, but you're not disturbed. You're just able to observe it and stay in this center, staying at ease. Let's see if you can get to that ease place. Just pretend you can get your breath down into your lower belly. Perhaps you can. Perhaps while we've been talking, you've been relaxing, finding your shoulders down. I know I'm more relaxed than when I started. Quiet. Deep. Ease. We're not doing anything. The abdominal breathing becomes a quality that emerges. Once we're at ease, the fourth level starts to emerge, and that is slow. Slow. Well, you may say, well, we've been going pretty slowly right now. It's not that slow in that way. It's the slowness of the inhalation and the exhalation. You may find that they increase very naturally, where you're suddenly taking an inhale and you're inhaling and inhaling and inhaling, and you just keep, oh, this is going on and on and on. Or you're exhaling and it's going on and on and on. And then you'll know that you've reached that level of expertise, of mastery, or whatever you want to call it, of practice, where now something's happening. You're at ease, you're centered there. And now you find that quite naturally, again, naturally, not that you're forcing it. Yes, of course I can take a big inhale and keep breathing, exhaling and doing it. That's not what we're doing. I mean, those are valid practices, don't get me wrong. That's not what we're doing here. This is the Tao of abdominal breathing. Non-action, Wu Wei, allowing the breath in its natural way to exhale and inhale. See if you can get to that slow point. Quiet, deep, ease, slow. I remember having a conversation with my Tai Chi Chuan teacher, Bob Ingle, and he was telling me that he was waiting for a bus. He would go around the city by bus. And he was waiting at the bus stop, and he was waiting about 25 minutes for the bus. So it was a long time, so he'd got into his breathing practice, which is very similar to what we're doing here. And after all that time, the bus came along. But he was so into the breathing, he'd reached that place of what we're talking about, that quiet, that deep, that ease, and that slow, that he didn't even bother getting on the bus. He just waited for the next one. He didn't care. He was just in that place, not spaced out, just completely present, just enjoying this moment. And this is what this breathing does give us. And then we come to the final level here, soft, soft. And this is where the idea is that everything is moving together. So there's not this bound up, contracted place. Everything is kind of soft and pliable, would be a good way to see it. That everything kind of moves together so that with every breath, the whole body is moving. Now, of course, with every breath, the whole body does move, right? But not necessarily does it move in a sliding, relaxed, smooth, soft, connected way. And that's the phase that we want to reach. So again, just close our eyes for a few moments and just allow the breath to breathe you. Now that may sound a bit funny, but that's exactly what's happening, right? You know, we are being breathed because most of the time we're not conscious of our breath, yet it still goes on. So the idea is to be conscious without the interference. That's the first stage, quiet. And if you just get there, as I've said, good for you. You're going to be healthier and happier. And if you care to, then you can just allow the breath to go more deeply, eventually come to a place where your consciousness can be there at ease and go through life just very, very centered, very okay with everything. I mean, it doesn't mean that you don't act when you need to. It just means that you just don't lose your center. And then slow. You really are just getting oxygenating your whole bloodstream, all your tissues. And then soft, connecting it all together so that each breath becomes your whole being, becomes like a bellows. Let's just practice that for a couple of moments. See what comes forward as you just go into a few moments of quiet. Well, I could go on and on and on. I think I've kind of got in the zone there. So I'm actually sorry to be bringing this to a close, but of course you can continue on in your own time. Baby Shan.